Alright everybody, game number 1, Netherlands going up against Sweden at the Nexus contest, and I'm a little bit hyped for this one, I have to say. Sweden is always one of the favorites to make it into the late rounds of any tournament. Sweden is like cheating, by the way. It's basically the Korea of Europe, and for some reason if you live in Sweden you're really good at video games. That seems to be the rule. I don't know any esports where there is not a good Swedish player or a good Swedish team. It's actually a bit nuts. So yeah, we're gonna see how this is gonna work out for them at the Nexus contest though, with a couple of actually really good games so far. I'm very impressed with the first rounds of the group stage. But now heading into Battlefield of Eternity as our first map between the Netherlands and Sweden. I want to see if Sweden can honor the reputation that they have. The tanks banned out right away, so we're going to see a ban on Garrosh and have a ban on Diablo. Pretty much your bread and butter when you're talking about the current meta in Heroes of the Storm. We see a lot of bans targeting Maiev. Turan is very highly regarded in terms of priority for all of that. But then again, when it comes to tanks, it's mostly about Diablo and Garrosh. Those two have a lot of CC, a lot of hit points, they have great engage tools. But there's also the ban against Maiev, as we more or less expected. So let's see how the Netherlands are going to follow up on that. Battlefield, again, Turanda gets a bit more value through the Hunter's Mark, so you could even ban her out. There's HANZO to consider. Li Ming, always great. Not quite to the extent that you would first pick or ban her, but she normally makes an appearance here. And we see the control of the tanks come in even more. So how is Sweden going to react to that? Are they going to shift their priority a little bit towards the front line? I mean, again, there's still enough out there, right? You can play Stitches, you can play Johanna, you can play Mal'Ganis even if you want to. Muradin is still up, and therefore we keep the MO, Turanda, early on, especially on Battlefield. We had a game earlier where we didn't even see HANZO picked or banned on the map, which to me was absolutely crazy. It was actually insane. So I would still like HANZO to be picked here. And for that map, MALFURION. And one of his best skins, by the way. ETC! Alright. That's interesting. That's a very early ETC pick. That's a very high priority for a hero that usually doesn't really get picked that much. Granted, great map for ETC. Can really, you have a lot of tools to push an opponent into immortal stuns and play around that. So ETC is oftentimes played here. Even when ETC started to fall off the meta, Fnatic occasionally still picked him for Breeze. But it's not really a hero that you would normally say has a massive priority now. And we have an immediate counter with HANZO and Tyrael being picked. So we have Turanda plus HANZO for the Immortal race. So it's a bit odd to me. ETC is a bit of a questionable choice in a lot of instances. You can definitely pick him here. But the priority for ETC is strange, to say the least. So, yeah. Color me intrigued. Let's see if they have some kind of follow-up for that. That makes it a little bit more transparent, but that is gonna be a bit weird. Because now you can ban out any kind of poke if you want to, if you're Sweden. You can basically, I don't want to say decide the game in the draft, but you can definitely set yourself up for a very solid advantage heading into the game itself. Greymane, another hero that can raise down an Immortal. So he gets banned out too. And now Netherlands, they need some damage. And talked about Li Ming a bit earlier. We've seen Hammer. If you want to play with Hammer, ETC can provide... Okay, alright. Okay. ETC with Vala is actually a great pick because you have face melt and can keep people away. That's one of the biggest things. If you want to play Vala, you normally play double support and you're trying to create space for her. And that's what ETC is good at. It's very 2017 though. So I get the idea now a lot more. That makes a lot more sense. Again, for the map, ETC is already not bad. But with Vala and double support comp, ETC can be kept alive a bit easier and you can create space for Vala as well. I am terrified by this draft though. Tyrael, Blaze, Bunker, Sanctification, a Genji, HANZO, Turanda. And then a very old school meta draft from the Netherlands. Yeah, you can go for an offlaner here, but what is, like, back in the day, that was the draft. That was the dream right there. But things have changed since then, so very old school style. Getting an Arthas into the mix, fair enough. Okay, I'm really interested in that. That might be a complete disaster for the Netherlands, but to be honest, it might just work out. It's old school, can work, it's tougher these days. But let's see if they can pull it off. Sweden going up against the Netherlands. Game on! Sweden to the left side of Battlefield of Eternity in blue with Henning on Tyrande, Svampgota on HANZO, Cypher looking for a team on Tyrael, Gion Genji and Timeless on Blaze. And then to the right side of the map we have Z No Bias on Tacita, Yuki on Vala, the bad guy on ETC, Dark Omicron on Arthurs, and Pani on MALFURION. Obviously with Vala on this map you want to go for an arrow build, one of the big reasons why you would play a Vala as a main DPS, solo DPS here. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to say the least. The draft is pretty brutal what we're seeing from Sweden here, and they've always been a huge favorite whenever we are talking about one of these tournaments. So let's see what's going to happen with that, if they're going to be able to justify the reputation that they have and also the trust that a lot of people have in them making it into the later stage of the tournament. They definitely have a lot of recognizable names in their lineup. To the top lane, Blaze going up against Arthurs, as you would expect. Now again, like a lot of this is really just protect Vala. This is what a lot of this comes down to. Obviously you have more damage output than only her, especially when you look over to Arthurs later on and when you're thinking about Tacita and softening targets up. But the thought process is oftentimes that you want to play around with your face melt to create space for Vala to be safe. You have a double support to assist her, to make sure she doesn't fall. And that's a big part of it. I mean, we're seeing on ETC Block Party taking on level 1 talent, so we have that going for them. It is a map where you don't really get that much globe access, so Prog Rock is always a bit of a questionable talent. If you already win all of the Immortals, then you can get that still done a lot quicker, and we'll get the value out of it. But that's not always going to be the case here. And both of them are already poking here a bit. I mean, the tank play on the other side with the Blaze and Tyrael setup is also something that you have to be on point with. But again, after level 10, you have 2 layered defenses. You have, first of all, Bunker, and of course the Sanctification too. And already we have Tacita in a bit of trouble here. Tacita has suffered a lot in terms of the hit point pool, and that's a massive problem. You can already see why. I mean, Genji's just jumping all over the place right now, trying to get the kill. Even Blaze comes down, and that's the first kill against MALFURION. But Tyrael dies too. Tries to go to the wave, drops that, gets the wave plane. But at the end of the day, it's still a win for Sweden. They trade a kill for a kill, and they take the camp. So they get a slight edge out of this. And they're pressuring MALFURION here, so no heals for now, for the time being, down at the bottom of the map. Double Shimada, brother. This also is very scary. The Immortal race itself should really be in their hands too. Yes, Vala can get a lot of damage out with the Monster Hunter, and obviously once she gets their stacks going on level 4, that can increase even more. The repeating arrow is going to put a bit of a finishing touch to that build. But then again, you're talking about a Tyrande with Hunter's Mark, you're talking about HANZO, and that alone is already scary as hell. So that poke is going to be rough. Gia is just playing around this the entire time here, trying to get a bit more damage in, poke, 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 always staying at the distance, and so far is doing well with that. There's always a question of what Tacita is going to do in level 4. Can go into the extra life leech if you're very auto-attack focused, or into the extra armor, which is especially helpful if you're trying to keep the front line alive too. But here we actually see the life leech now, so trying to get it a bit more sustainable for Vala herself. When it comes to the level 4 talents, we also have a bit of an adjustment here for Arthurs himself. Nice move against Genji. Jumps away against HANZO. Sorry. These Shimadas all look the same to me. Dark Omicron, on the other hand, is having a huge problem here. And Genji comes in, says like, hey, thanks for softening my target up. Down goes Arthurs, that's the first kill, and they are all on the run. Pani nearly dying here, but is able to get out. But that was rough. Then again, they get the halftime show, right? So the Netherlands win the initial engage, but now we're having Tyrande and HANZO starting to burn this one down. Svampgota needs to get a little bit more target practice here to get that scatter shot in and lock down. But we're having the zoning over to the right side. Again, the lockdown attempt here. ETC with a slide in straight into a stun and gets punished for it immediately. Dark Omicron back to business now. We have another 5 versus 5. 2 kills against 1. The fight's still ongoing. And the good stun and the follow-up by MALFURION. and Vala both eliminated, as we see Genji and HANZO doing their thing. Great stun initially from Tyrande, and then the immediate collapse onto the target. They're not only getting one, they're getting two. Take the kills here. Still fighting for the Immortal, which is still up on the board. And with both of the tanks committing to it and the hit points starting to run out on the Swedish team, they're actually able to get this pretty low. They might be able to win it after all. The commitment on the left side is strong, and yeah, Tyrande is getting so much work in. If we have another volley from HANZO, it should still be a victory for the Swedish team. Oh, close call. 300 hit points on the shield. It's not like this Immortal is going to do a whole lot. But yeah. And everybody on the blue team is just looking over. For fun? The hell is happening here? We actually lost that? Damn it. But they are ahead. 4 kills against 1. They have level 7 talents, as they also come in for their opponent's team. But of course, with the setup, the Immortal should be burned down very quickly. I would be surprised if the keep or the fort here takes a lot of damage, if any at all. Celestial Attunement, again, crossfire for Blaze. Repeating arrow on the other hand, and Tasla is a little bit safer now with his level 7 choice. Psionic Reach can go in from a distance, and yeah, fort not even touched. Not even touched. Vala is still starting to get her stacks and talking stats. Let's take a look at it. 4 so far for her. 4 hits also with Tyrande, by the way. Arthur's also looking at 7 currently on his level 1. Having it with no level 7 choice, but the Death Lord here. Range increase, cooldown decreased. Could fully go into the Death Coil build if he really wanted to. But yeah, another camp attack to the bot lane, and they were really thinking about, do we funnel into this? Gia is already looking for the Swift Strike, and they're just simply moving away from it. They're like, nah, that is not looking too pretty for us. A little bit too squishy on that end, especially if we don't have Arthurs with us. It gives us a little bit more front sustain. But yeah, not quite. It's tough. I mean, the Netherlands are looking at it right now, and they're still saying, okay, guys, experience is really the same. It's not too bad. And I mean, they're right. It's a bit tough, though. Again, I'm scared. Sweden is always strong here. They have a 3-man down at the bottom. Okay, Tyrael jumps out. But up to the top lane, this is really where most of it just happens right now, because we have Genji swinging over. And this is the big reason why Genji is such a big influence on a lot of these maps. In this one, it's maybe not quite as impactful as in a lot of others, but the reason is he's so mobile with all the mobility that he has that he can easily transfer from one lane to another. And if you go and do that onto the one-on-one lane, and then you can't do anything. They can take the camp, you can quickly come down again, help out there. And we have the next Immortal already spawning, which means that the teams are looking towards the Shaman camps again, and this time both of them are going to get it here. So they're going to go straight for that. By the way, also a little bit of info here. If you look at HANZO, he actually went into the explosive arrows and the sharpened arrowheads here. So not really going for the build that you would necessarily expect him to go for on this map. Still going to get the value out. But definitely an adjustment that I didn't really expect him to go for. They are still getting the pressure. I mean, Tyrande with a Hunter's Mark alone is already doing the work. And they win an easy halftime show with no problem whatsoever. And while the rest is focusing on the bot lane, Netherlands are making some interesting adjustments. I mean, they're worried about the level 10, I assume, but they're basically giving up this Immortal completely for free. Dark Omicron is eating tons of damage to this. Pops the army. Gets even more stuns in, so he's gonna use the cooldown to get back to full HP. But they're in a fully defensive position right now. And this is just simply poke damage. You don't need any more than that. Genji hasn't even made a choice for his level 10 yet. Vala is going into strafe and is currently working on the Immortal here, but that is just going to trigger the attack from Sweden onto the Immortal themselves, and they're already going in. Vala is still getting the damage worked in, but yeah, Timeless X now moving into it, trying to take it here. Again, the attack coming from the back, the mosh pit comes through only against Tyrael, not getting more than that, and the Immortal taken 50% shields still as they go in fully. Interrupt on the Sanctification, kill against Vala, and that might not be the only one. Pani might fall here too. Gia can't quite get the second kill in, but even ETC had to move back right now, and that's a 50% shield Immortal. Much stronger now. 1 dead. Sweden with 5 kills against 1. Could have maybe even gotten more, but they are definitely bringing the pain right now. Moving to the top. It's tough going. Netherlands, they're trying to find the kills here, but the problem is they're losing Vala so often in these fights early on already. Nice attempt on the jump, but Gia can't quite dodge it. Not that he has to. Mosh Pit is currently still down, so this is a fort about to be taken. Would be very surprising if somehow the Netherlands are able to hold on to it. I don't really think there's any chance of that happening. The meatballs are going in, trying with the jet propulsion, not quite finding it, but still pushing this in very heavily. And Tassadar is still suffering from that low hit point pool that we talked about earlier. And he is immediately attacked as we're seeing Gia and Genji jumping in again, doing a bit of work. They have taken the fort down. That's all they really wanted to do here. A little bit more damage against the wall is already a nice bonus for them, but the rotation down to the bottom of the map is even eliminating more structures, so they're focusing on that. Sweden is doing work. Half a level behind right now, but still looking very, very solid with the setup. Genji, of course, looking for more damage. I mean, Genji is always going to look for that Swift Strike on the Vala, that Swift Strike on the Malfurion. He needs to be a bit careful with Malfurion because, yeah, Twilight Dream can, of course, be his demise if he overdoes it. But then again, the setup with Bunker and the Sanctification alone is just so good. Has been played a ton, if you remember the Katowice. Was it the beginning of the year when we saw Katowice in the Western Clash, and it was just all about Blaze and Tyrael. Here comes the arrow, they go in for it, and Tassadar nearly insta-dies. Sanctification on the ground, the first one down, Malfurion already dead, Vala with a strafe, she gets the value, but Swamp Grotta is still alive. Genji on the other hand, he's down, and all of a sudden, Netherlands are starting to take a couple of kills here. Still the fight against Henning, and Tyrande is just accepting that she's not going to make it. They overlaid those defenses, both used at the same time. Sanctification and Bunker, big problem, but they still get the trade. The 2-for-2 as Dark Omicron falls. Vala dies as well. A beneficial trade for Sweden. They might even get the quad kill here. Nah. Or do they? Ho ho ho! HANZO! With the sharpshooters here. Boom, boom, straight to the face, and 2 more kills. A 4 versus 2 at the end of the day. The camp taken by the Netherlands, but I doubt that was worth it from their point of view. No one going for any of the camps just now. Instead, we're seeing them moving straight into the middle as the Immortals are already spawning here, so they have to take this one. And it's again the lead for Sweden. Good position for them. They can raise so much quicker right now, especially, of course, with Tyrande. Gets the Hunter's Mark in. They have a bit more pressure on the other side, where Vala is trying to work in those arrows. And they're getting quite a bit of damage in, but it's nowhere near what we're seeing coming from Sweden. With those arrows, you can only do so much. And if you have HANZO and Tyrande against you, that just hurts. Defensive position for now. They're taking the camp. That opens up the Immortal again. They can't do that. They wait way too long for this one. Just look at the damage output. They might be able to even race it in. The camp is taken, but Arthas was still busy at the top trying to give them the 13, which they have now. The nullification for Tassadar is going to be good, but that was a ton of free damage that they just got out of this one. Ton of free damage here. Alright, they're going to try and get theirs on the side. Gia already looking for that Swift Strike again. Camp against camp. Not quite sure if they really needed to give up that time. Arrow onto Vala, and she's getting stunned by the Immortal. Then insta-kill again. Vala down, no chance. Arrow into jet propulsion, into Immortal stun. That's the end of her. Bunker is down. They go straight for the potential kill against ETC. Might not be able to get that, but then again, Gia is doing really well on the body blocks. Has to be a bit careful himself. Even X striking out of this one. But obviously the fate of the Immortal himself is already sealed. That guy is down. Damage output, let's have another close look at it. 48k. By HANZO, 34 by Vala, but 4 deaths against her. 10 kills against 3 thus far. And they're starting to make the play at the top. Defending first of all, down to the bottom of the map on the other hand. Tyrande with a good stun here. Good stun on herself to make sure that ETC doesn't get the kill. But the Immortal is being attacked. The rest of the team is starting to move down, and they're starting to try and see if they can maybe drop this. Tassadar is so low already, just through that little bit of poke. Oh my god, he might even fall there. Barely shifts away. That was a close call for sure. That could have been the end of him too if HANZO follows up with another quick hit. There's the arrow. Big hit! And the Swift Strike. The stun follows up. And they are all getting poked so hard. It's actually crazy. I mean, Tassadar alone needs to dimension shift away from this one. He's already low, even in Archon form. That might even be the keep. Might even be the keep. I mean, Vala completing the quest, but to be absolutely honest with you, what exactly are they going to do here? They're already incredibly low on the HP. And now we're still seeing the poke happening continuously from Sweden. They have a level 16 talent advantage, 2-level lead, stat advantage to boot, and the keep is down. If they can get a few kills, they might even try to push this further. Unlikely considering that the Immortal is basically dead, but damn, Sweden is playing really well here. 10 kills against 3, massive lead in experience, and Sweden moving back up. Netherlands currently not able to contest anything here. Talents, let's have a quick look at that. I mean, Tyrande, as you would expect, going straight for the Harsh Moonlight on 13, going for the Empower on level 16, pretty standard. 19 stacks at this point in time for the level 4 talent. At least getting some value at the top side. And Tassadar is going to complete his own level 1 quest very soon, so once they hit 16, he is going to have a pretty effective double stun. Yeah, there's the hit from Tyrande. They're coming in for the flank, and that's a bad fight to take. You don't have 16 yet. The bunker on the ground. X-Strike comes in. Sanctification used at the same time. A bit of an overlap from Sweden. Bit of a misplay. But still the owl to the face, and this kill secured by Tyrande as MALFURION falls. Another kill, another attack. Trying to get a little bit more. Yeah, Swamgoda jumps out. HANZO is gone. They get the kills. What can they do with it? It's really the big question right now. They would have liked to get a little bit more out of this than that, I would assume. If you get not only 1 kill, but you get 2, you can actually take down the wall. But MALFURION is going to be back. So they're saving the top. They got the kill, they get more experience. But there's a chance for the Netherlands to hit level 16 by the time that the Immortal is actually on the map. Camp is not coming back for another 4 seconds. They might just go for it, yeah. Still worth it. You have 8 seconds, 9 seconds left. Timing works out nicely. It's the experience that I'm more so worried about. And Arthur's already trying to deal with that at the bottom of the map. Took another wave here. Still thinking about this one. Already the burst. Halftime show is going to be lost. It's going to be actually problematic. They might lose more than that. They need a little bit more. Arthur's is trying to get it bot side. But now the halftime show is lost. It's still no 16 talents. They should get it just for the next fight though. But it is clutch. It's really clutch. There we have it. Frost shot for Vala. Still getting the siphoning arrow on the 13, by the way. Not going Gloom. There's the poke, and they're trying to set something up here. Gia already looking at the backlines, getting hit though. They're defending for now. Big wave at the bot lane too, so Netherlands can't fight for this too long. There's catapults being escorted to the core, and that is a problem in the long run. 1 catapult so far, but the second one comes in. Here comes the arrow from HANZO. ETC is low, gets away for now. Genji going in deep, X-Strike, and they're trying to drop Big Eye, and they will. Down he goes, again layering the Sanctification and the bunker. That's definitely something they have to fix in the long run in this tournament, I feel. But they're getting the kills in. Arthur's is down as well. Dark Omicron eliminated. I actually think he even dropped at this point. And yeah, them pausing basically means that's exactly what happened there. So yeah, he had a bit of an issue for sure in the last one. But as it happens, he wouldn't have gotten out there anyways. He was already on the retreat, trying to drop the army here. Core is wide open right now. First keep down, and of course they can go for the Immortal up to the top. This one is pushing in thanks to the camp that we have there, but the catapult is going to work against it. Even if they can push through this, the next catapult spawn that comes through is going to take that down. But in that situation, with ETC eliminated and Arthur's now dead too, that's 2 down, and they could definitely start to move in. Even if the catapults fall, you are already with an exposed core, and you don't really have too much left here. Then again, next play could also be just moving into the middle. So those are the 2 options. You either try and core here right away, or you go for this one. And you try and take the Immortal and then just move in with the Immortal. But of course, Immortal always spawns on the lane that is the least pushed, where the most structures still remain, which means the Immortal would go topside. And then they would have to go through the keep here first before they can go for the core. So that's basically the 2 decisions that they have at this point in time. We're looking at the damage output, just as we're waiting for the game to resume. We still have Vala with a pretty solid damage output, but 4 deaths against her are just simply too much if you're running her as the main damage dealer with 2 supports and 2 tanks to try and protect her. 73,000 for HANZO. The biggest grime that I have with the play on the side of the Swedish team is what I pointed out earlier. Tyrael and Blaze overlap their ults a lot right now, and you kind of want to make sure that doesn't happen. So they did it 3 times now in 3 fights. They still won those battles, and they are still way ahead and very likely to take this first game in the series. But it's something that if you're going up against stronger teams later on in the tournament, you will probably have to try and fix. And they decide to go for the Immortal. They're playing this one safe. They're not going for the core, as you can see. Instead, they're just going for the top, trying to push this down. Better safe than sorry. 13 kills against 3. They're closing in on 22, so yeah. Blaze made the move back to protect the wall, is pushing this, and then they can go through the top and drop the second keep here. But yeah, it's pretty much a bit of a sum up here on the side of the Swedish team. They're doing fairly well, don't get me wrong. But if you're going into the later stage of the tournament and you rely on Tyrael Blaze again, this is definitely something to be fixed in communication to make sure that's going to work out for them. So for the time being, top lane it is. And we could even see the game finishing here, of course, depending on kills that they could get. And HANZO has the arrow ready. Arrow is there, bunker is nearly ready. The cooldown that is the highest is 30 seconds roughly on Tyrael. Have to be careful with that. But anything else... Keep is falling. That's basically a foregone conclusion. The biggest question is, can they end? Can Sweden go and finish the game here? Stuns are already coming in here. There's a lot of zoning happening and really just trying to fight for space. Trying to find a good angle. Vala gets hit. Immediately getting cleansed out though, but the kill is still there. That's the first one. Vala down, the main damage gone. Great Twilight Dream, but it's not going to do enough, is it? Dark Omicron is again in trouble. Absolutely isolated here, and they take him down. This should be core. You still have your ult on Tyrael, and with the Sanctification you can just simply go straight for the core here and drop it, and that has to be it. First game goes to Sweden. Netherlands, they fight bravely, but it's just not enough. There's a Sanctification on the ground, they're bursting it. That Immortal is still there, ETC is low, everybody else is also in trouble, and this is going to be the lead in the series for the Swedish team, going up 1-0 against the Netherlands at the Nexus contest. Volskaya, game number 2. Sweden in the lead with 1-0 against the Netherlands after a pretty dominant victory, I would say. On the first map, I was told that the main reason why... I was told by Swedish, by Swedes, that the main reason why Swedes are so good at esports is there is just jack shit to do in that country. So you're just sitting at home all day playing video games. That comes from a Swede, okay? So just so we're sure here. I'm not sure if that's true. It's a beautiful country. There's probably a lot to do outside as well, but it's also a very cold country, so I could see why there's a lot of Swedes there. But it's actually unfair if you think about it. How many people live in Sweden? It's like 9 million, 10 million, something along those lines. And every single esports has a top Swedish player, top Swedish team. Then you look at Germany, we have 90 million, and we just suck. It's totally unfair. Yes, we have a couple of good players. Nobody doubts that. But you compare that with the ratio that we have in Sweden, and it's just 6 city. I'm like, where the hell do you get that from? The Korea of Europe, I'm telling you. It's all those meatballs. It's all those meatballs. Eat meatballs all day long, and apparently you're gonna get good at this. Anyways, enough with the stereotypes. Turanda banned out. She's moving farther and farther up in the priority list. From the first ban, more often now we're seeing her even in the ban position. Maiev getting rid of Volskaya. I would say that we're still gonna see good old Blaze coming in at some point here. But what do we have? Last ban. It's gonna be a Genji? Are they gonna be trying and get rid of that? No, Garrosh. Okay, heavy focus again on that front line. I mean, they played with Tyrael and Blaze. They could do it again. First pick goes over to the Netherlands, though. They lost the last game, so they had the choice, and they go for HANZO. They go for HANZO here right away. It is HANZO time. Still leaves some real big priority picks up for Sweden. I mean, we talk Genji again. If you want to go into tanks, they still have that hero if they want to go for it. I mean, Sergeant Hammer could be another hero that we're seeing here. That has been played several times in the past on this map. It's the original map where Rich actually brought it with Genji into the meta. Johanna and MALFURION, though. I mean, Johanna already can help you with the blind. She's also going to be having the sustain. on the shrine itself. How are the Netherlands reacting? They need a good draft for this one now. The last game was not really good for them. So how is that going to work out? Blaze and what's going to be the follow-up? Okay, and Nubarak and... Blaze. Hanzo. And Li Ming. Okay. So, a quick engage with the noob, trying to get the combo off with Li Ming afterwards. Maybe even the Hanzo arrow engage beforehand or as a follow-up. Both could definitely work for them here. But again, like oftentimes when you think about Volskaya, you're thinking about holding the position on the shrine, right? So, on the control point. So oftentimes you see hit point heavy tanks because you have more sustain there. You can stay there for longer. If you go for a Nubarak, the idea is not so much just sitting there being able to take a beating. It's more so going in and getting a kill. So I'm not sure if I like that necessarily for Volskaya Foundry, what they're drafting right now. The combo makes sense. But for Volskaya, I would have preferred something different for them. It's more execution-heavy composition because you try to look for quick kills. Ana banned out to make sure that Li Ming can't get a nano boost. Offlane is really interesting to me now for Netherlands because I feel they need Urel, Tyrael, or Blaze with a Nubarak, or he might get punished too hard. But it's Sweden's choice first, and they go for that Tyrael. Having him already, Sanctification again, zoning the opponent out with Holy Ground later on too, and Reyna for the sustainable damage against that front line, and of course the penetrating round to create a little bit of space and staying safe there. That's a nice setup. And you have a last pick where you can go into Hammer if you wanted to, you could go into a Mage. Very, very flexible on their last pick now, whereas Netherlands have to make a commitment at this point. I would expect Blaze, yep, and Stukov. Very heavy one-shot centered. You really try and go in with this. Blaze definitely makes the Nubarak a little bit more viable in the setup that they're running here. And they have good stuns and good CC, and Stukov can follow up with the silence. But you have to execute this well and get kills. This is pretty much what Netherlands is currently looking at. It's a lot more synergy on the draft, though, than they had in the previous game. So, can definitely work out. You just need to pick a target and have a good engage. And Sweden counters with Junkrat. Displacement, good poke from the outside, push for the top lane, and the wave clear. Game 2. Sweden wants to make it a quick 2-0 to start into the group stage of the Nexus contest. Netherlands, of course, eager to get the first point onto the scoreboard. And let's head into Volskaya Foundry, map number 2. Game number 2, Sweden in the lead. And we have them to the left with Henning on MALFURION, Gia on Junkrat, Svampgrotta on Reyna, Cypher on Johanna, and Timeless on Tyrael. To the right side of the map, the Netherlands with Yuki on HANZO. Big guy, bald guy, bad guy, the B guy on the Nubarak. Dark Omicron on Blaze, Xenobias on Li Ming, and Pani on Stukov. Heading on level 1 into the Fetid Touch, so very heavy on the weighted postural. Could see probably a couple of the talents later on also speccing into that. We'll get the synergy here. If you don't go for the lurking arm, that's usually what we are getting. And we have to put some English on it again. Alright, ready to roll. Let's see if the Netherlands can take a victory here. The draft is kind of designed to get kills. You want to move in, you want to get the stun set up. Combo with also, of course, Stukov from the backline here and getting the silence and then trying to play around that to drop the target. Question is just simply, do you have the execution here? A Nubarak is always a little bit of a commitment because he's not as hit point heavy as other tanks, and you can see that already. I mean, being burned down to half HP just by stepping out and trying to get that globe there. Having a globe on 1 makes that kind of necessary. It's a very sustainable front line that we're seeing for their opponents. Sweden is playing again with the attempt to go into the Sanctification and of course Johanna to just be a little bit more sustainable on the side itself with the trade, having the Iron Skin there. But yeah, at the early game what really matters is that you're trying to get your own turret, you're trying to see if your opponent goes for the biotic emitter and then interrupt that. So if you can get the biotic emitter, that's amazing, and if not, then you at least try to deny it to your opponent as well, so that you head into the first objective on even items. That's the added layer that you see on Volskaya. Items are insanely important, and of course during the fights themselves you always try to hold it back a little bit too. And we already see them dance around the biotic emitter, just as we said. And so far it seems like the Netherlands are willing to commit to that. They have a 5-man here, but Sweden moves in now too. It's a little bit too late though, the rotation not in time, and that means that we're having that emitter in the hands of their opponent. So an additional item now for Yuki on Hanzo, and that's actually a pretty good start for them into this. Obviously, at this point, the Netherlands are going to be very much so trying to make sure that they're winning this one and force the third game. And it's the map choice of Sweden. Netherlands went for first pick and first ban. And with that, we have the map choice in the hands of Sweden, which they went immediately onto Volskaya. Fight or flight on Reyna. I'm liking that we see that a lot more right now, because we had a couple of games where you have adjustments, especially when you're looking towards the lower leagues. Then in particular, you oftentimes have the sustainable rounds, which is not really a great talent for Reyna. You don't want to go for that. Even Behemoth Armor is a little bit of a liability. We had it taken a couple of times in HGC, but most of the time the players that used it very quickly then moved over to fight or flight, since it just gives you much more survivability. Dominance on Li Ming as a level 4 talent, so once that she starts to go in with Calamity and be a bit more aggressive, she also has the potential to just get those hit points back to survive. That being said, Anubarak, we talked about him trying to engage here, and that's what they're doing now with Underking taken as level 4 talent. That means that we have the Subterranean Shield very likely picked on level 7, so him trying to just go in deep and get those kills set up. But they're also taking the claim on the Shrine here, at least they're trying. But Cypher is already starting to move in. Here comes the approach onto the backline. Svampgrota needs to be careful. Already using his fight or flight here, dropping that cooldown. And the first turret is on the ground. Hanzo still dealing with the top camp on the other hand. Those were already pushed out. Tyrael at the bot lane can engage in if he wants to, but they're giving it up at least for the time being. But the re-engage is going to happen eventually. They're just poking away against the turret. They're going to get that out. They still have their own. Svampgrota hasn't used it yet. Kamazek starting to move in here, starting to get the attempt to push them out, and massive damage against Dark Omicron. Again, grouping them up and even getting that grenade in. So far so good actually for Sweden. They're recapturing the control point. And of course, with now also the turrets respawning, both of the teams are going to make that rotation to try and get the additional turret here. First of all, the Netherlands in position for it. Calamity now for Li Ming, that's the important one. And we have at the same time towards the left the turret about to be taken too. But Cypher is still trying to hold this for a bit longer to keep it in possession of his team. It's tough, but he's making it happen. And now again trying to put the pressure onto Anubarak. He got put out of position, and Svampgrota on his Reyna is just getting these auto attacks in, and with the turret now on the ground, just look at them dropping. Here comes the attempt to drop Blaze, but it's not only him. Here comes the attack against Johanna, and she's not falling. Iron Skin allows her to stay alive, but Stukov and Blaze both die in the attempt to keep the objective. Good shields from Tyrael as well. And again, Anubarak in trouble. And he might even have to borrow charge out of this one. They're going to get the first one. That protector in the hands of Sweden. And of course, that means rotation to the top lane. Trying to get that wall down. Especially that fountain. They're dealing with this one first. But I would be very surprised if they would push farther than the wall. Normally, ooh, they actually do. Normally you see that rotation happening topside. They're delaying that a little bit. Anubarak goes in with a Subterranean Shield, and okay, here comes the rotation. Just waiting for Junkrat to clear out the wave so that they can go in. And just look at the leading experience already. It's like, oh damn, they already have an entire level on their opponent. Junkrat pushing out the middle even more now, and nobody is catching the experience there. Nobody. They're trying to go for the fountain. It's a little bit late for it, but they're still going to get it. And yep, Junkrat pushes this in. Yuki has to just move in to get the XP, make sure that they're not losing out on that. But this is nearly level 10. This is nearly going to be the level 10 for Sweden. And that means that they can fully control not only the support camp, but they might even be able to just simply force another quick team fight if they have, let's say, a Blessed Shield against anybody here once that the 10 drops. And that's really what makes it so scary right now for the Netherlands. Already starting the camp up. And yeah, the Netherlands, they can't really go in for this. You have to watch that. If you stay too close and that Blast Shield hits you, you are toast. So they give up the Biotic Emitter. They're already behind when it comes to items now. And we could see the commitment in the middle. We could see the rotation bot. We're also seeing, of course, that camp coming back in 10 seconds. So very likely they're going to steal that item away from their opponent too. It's another half level. It's a lot of time to use those level 10s. But they're trying to get the kill here. They're looking for it. Camp is active. Could go for it now. No call just made. Still nearly half a level. But Yuki is going for it first. It's surprising to me that Sweden doesn't steal that. Instead, they're going for the middle to drop the 4. That's fair. Could have totally seen them make the play for the turret, though. They're not even getting that. Here comes the engage on MALFURION. The follow-up is there, but the Sanctification immediately being used, and so is the Tranquility. The Beetle is dead within a second. Dark Omicron is currently getting body blocked. Stukov is saving him for now. Still forcing out the bunker, but that's another good kill here for Sweden. 3 kills against 0. Looking fantastic here. 2 items already in their hands and about to get another one. Swamp-Grotta has 1 turret, they're getting a second. Henning has the biotic emitter. The next shrine or the next control point is obviously going to spawn topside. Fantastic start for Sweden into this. The next Punisher is going to tell us a lot. Lex Protector. Because if the Netherlands lose that one too, they will play a catch-up game for the rest of this series. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to come back into this. And they have to be super careful with it too. They're still looking for kills. I mean, again, the entire composition hinges basically on them trying to get an initiation with a Nubarak and then following it up with additional stuns to either HANZO or a jet propulsion. And we saw it in the last fight too. A Nubarak goes in, HANZO follows with an arrow, and it was great damage against MALFURION. But the first thing that you see is, bam, there's the Sanctification on the ground. And that's the initiation or the entire fight completely gone. They can't get it any longer against a specific target. And then they're going to have a tough time securing the kill against anyone else. If they can get the Cocoon in play, though, maybe against Tyrael, just as they engage, it would be great. But there's a lot of ifs and when hinging around that particular play. 13 against 12. That's what we're going to see in just a moment. So an extra talent coming in for Sweden to help them with their position at the top. Gonna make it even more difficult for the Netherlands. And it is already difficult enough as is. But there's the giddy up. Taken, and we're already seeing them starting to make the play for the top. Netherlands, they know they have to do something here, and they're currently trying to somehow hold this, but it's not going to be happening anytime soon, I don't think so. Especially with Blaze still being topside, Tyrael already pushing in the middle, threatening forward. Someone has to rotate down, and that means Sweden is going to take a very, very significant lead. And they're going for the next emitter. They want to have another item, another biotic emitter. But now, people are a little bit more willing to fight over it, even without the level 13 talent. Johanna on the side already. They're starting to move in. Alright, big shove coming into play. And they're stealing it away. They're trying to. But there's Tyrael, jumps in, jumps out. Who gets the emitter? They're going for it, but the kills are about to happen here. As Pani is about to fall, he dies, and so does Li Ming. 2 dead already. And they are just absolutely wrecking them. Emitter on the ground. It was stolen away by the Netherlands, but it came at a price, and that's 4 heroes eliminated. A 0 for 4 trade. Only have to give up the emitter. 7 kills against 0. Johanna immediately moving topside again towards the 4, trying to take it. Push in the middle. Move down to the bottom, trying to steal another item away. Things are not looking any brighter for the Netherlands yet. Not at all. Yeah, the meatball's a little bit too strong. The tulips are going down. Another item claimed. Another turret here. Yep. Top side. It's only Johanna, so she will have to give this one up for a little bit longer. They're not really securing that protector just yet. But they have all the time in the world to get all the items, to get the fort in the mid lane, which is exactly what they're doing right now. They still hold 1 turret. How many do we have? They have 1 turret on Gia, on Junkrat, and another one on Cypher up to the top. So that's already a chance for them to drop the items, and they're even trying to get level 16 before that, and an additional turret too. They're going for triple item, and they're going for the level 16 talent if they can get that as well. Johanna still playing the super safe. Netherlands are pushing topside. Time is ticking. 50%, 52%. A lot of patience from Sweden. A lot of patience. They know they have a lot of time for this, especially since no one held that spot for the Netherlands either. So they have even more time to get another wave, get the level 16 talent, and now they're willing to fight. And now they're starting to move in. Immediately the shove coming through. They're trying to go for Swamp-Grotta. That's not working either. Reina is still there, and now they're pushing it in hard. 7 against 0. 2 level lead. 16 talent is in. Not even picked by all of them. Should see the penetrating round being focused on. Arrow is missing as the engage happens. They're going for it. And there's the Blessed Shield. HANZO is dead. Riptire is out. There's the Protector on the map, but they want to get more kills. And they're going straight for the Beetle, and he's down as is. Tries to get the quick cocoon out to maybe somehow get away here, but it's not happening. 9 kills against 0. They're taking the Protector, moving straight in. The top fort, the fate is already sealed of that thing, and Sweden is, as expected, super strong here at the Nexus contest. Starting with a fantastic series, at least up to this point, into the group stage. And looking very, very dominant doing it. Really dominant at that. I mean, just look at that push top lane, going through the wall while we're still seeing the bot lane being pushed too. They have all the items still. They didn't even have to use anything. That's 3 turrets in their hands. They're going for an easy fort down at the bottom. Cypher and the rest of the team have no problem surviving up the top, not with the Iron Skin still being ready. And the Protector simply walks away. They went through the wall. The fort at the bot lane is down. Massive amount of items in their hands. Massive lead, 3 levels ahead, 9 kills, taking one wave after another, soaking all the experience here too. Bot lane fort has been destroyed, and they can now even apply a little bit more pressure maybe in the middle there. Damage output, let's take a quick look at it. 32k for Jimmy. He's very, very happy about the slows that especially Johanna, of course, provides with the ace in the hole that he has on the level 1. And yeah, looking insanely strong here. HANZO has only 24,000 damage, and Li Ming is sitting at 21. They can't get any kills to give her the resets that she really wants, and another emitter is being fought over too. In terms of talents, endless nades on 16. Again, we talked about the Paint Them Red already. We're having Burning Halo after Sword of Justice, so not really looking to use the Holy Ground to isolate anybody, but fantastic talents for them regardless. Really getting a lot of value, especially out of the Druid's Might here the entire time, getting the damage in, and of course also keeping the mobility on Tyrael, who so far has used it extremely well. And every time there's some pressure in any way, the first thing that we're seeing is a good sanctification on the ground. And this is what we've been talking about during the draft. You need to try and get these quick kills when you are the Netherlands with this draft that you're running here. And the question was simply, is really this map the map where you can make that happen? And so far it hasn't been. They have Epicenter now for Anubarak. That might help a little bit, especially with the Mirror Ball on Li Ming. The extra damage could work out for them, but it is going to be extremely tough if that Tyrael is able to get the Sanctification through. If you're able to get the Cocoon on him, might help you, but there's a lot really that screws with this setup that they need. They hold only 1 turret, and we have 4 items in the hands of their opponent. The only hero not holding an item, I'm lying, they have 5. They have all the turrets. 4 turrets and a healing beacon. They have everything that you could wish for. Even the... Oh my god, HANZO down. What a play again from Svamgrotta. Going in deep in the middle of 4 heroes. As we're seeing Cypher coming in. Another potential kill against the Nubarak. Down goes Stukov. It's an absolute disaster. Dark Omicron is getting stopped as he tries to get the jet propulsion through to move away. 4 heroes dead. Li Ming barely escaping. Even she is taking a lot of damage. And now the quick move to the top lane. They nearly have level 20, and they're just going to simply go for another keep here before the objective even spawns at the bottom of the map. They might go even for more. They're already starting to very aggressively position themselves towards the core. They have the Sanctification, Battle Arena as the 20 talents are in, and even with everybody just about to come back, they're dropping the first turret. They have so many items. They're just going for game here, 15 minutes in. And they have the Holy Arena, as I said before. They have the Tranquility. Turret after turret is being used, and they're racing it down. Sweden with a convincing victory against the Netherlands. An easy 2-0 for them. Definitely one of the top teams here at the Nexus contest, and a well-deserved victory on Volskaya Foundry.